All right, we're back. Reality Redemption. We just have so much shit to talk about because just each week is a lot of shit. And maybe that's why there was a toilet paper shortage.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
And hey, we got Ra Ray back in the...
Yes, she's staying to...
Welcome back.
Do one of our unfun ones, which is talking politics.
I know that this is really like our therapy session. We just have to get this all out so we're just not holding it inside, you know.
Understandable.
Yeah, because, you keep all this shit in, you'll just go fucking crazy.
So did you get your early ballot? I got mine.
I got my ballot.
I did.
Yes.
I already technically voted. Well, technically not, I guess. I haven't turned it in yet, but I filled it out. I'm one step closer.
Right. Vote early, vote often. That's the Democratic Party, right? No, I'm kidding.
Right.
I'm kidding.
It's
vote early, turn it in early.
Yeah, I don't, not often, because you can get in trouble
full
for that.
disclaimer, I am just kidding.
It even gives you warnings on the envelope
Yes.
that you could be subject to, like, I believe it's a class 5 felony.
Yeah.
If you vote more than once or...
All right, so this toilet paper shortage, you do remember like the ports on the East Coast a couple weeks ago were on strike.
Right.
Which caused the whole United States to panic, and they were hoarding toilet paper like it was 2020 again.
Or Y2K, or...
Were they hoarding toilet paper back then?
I don't know. They were
Absolutely.
hoarding water.
And dog food and gas. You had to fill up your vehicle for Y2K.
They were hoarding water. I know
Yes.
that. Like, you couldn't
And Little
find
Debbie
any
snack
water
cakes.
in the grocery store at all.
Okay, well, let's focus in on that part and how crazy we are collectively. You're hoarding toilet paper when 99% of it is produced in the United States, so it's not going to come through a port anyways.
Right. I believe it... So, sorry, I have to change my wording because there's only one Koch brother now. Doesn't the Koch brother, own Georgia Pacific? If I'm not mistaken, that's a Koch industry.
I am not sure on
Of course,
that.
I suppose they could have sold out and their plants are in China and they make toilet paper and then send it all the way back here. I don't
Wouldn't
know.
that come into West Coast ports, though?
Probably.
Because then, they would have to go a long way around to get to the East Coast ports from China.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's hard to try to figure all this shit out, I guess that's why we need a lot of toilet paper, because there's just a lot of shit. It goes
A lot of
on.
bullshit.
So you get into, I know quite a few people that were affected by the hurricanes. I had friends in the area and stuff like that. And it just turns into we're controlling the weather.
Oh, yeah,
Just batshit crazy stuff. Okay, the argument is man cannot control the climate, right? Like mankind has no effect on the climate crisis that's going on. Right? It's just these natural cycles that always happen in nature.
Unless you listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, doesn't she claim that it's Jewish space lasers?
Jewish space lasers started the wildfires.
They are
in California.
Controlling the weather. But it's okay, then why would if the Democrats, because she associates the Jewish space lasers with Democrats, right? The Democratic Party, blah blah blah. Why would the Democratic Party go and flood out Asheville then? If you ask any regular person, name me 5 liberal cities in the United States, Asheville's gonna come up on that list.
Yeah, would they build dams around Asheville first?
I mean, they're gonna probably cite San Francisco first. They're always the first one, right? But Asheville, come on.
What did Marjorie Taylor Greene have to say about this?
Okay, well, here's her ranting about climate change.
People are not affecting climate change. You're going to tell me that back in the Ice Age, how much taxes did people pay and how many changes did governments make to melt the ice? The climate is going to continue to change. And there is no reason to just open up our borders and allow everyone in and continue to funnel over $50 billion or however many billions of dollars or trillions of dollars to foreign countries all over the world simply because they don't like the climate change.
That's not real. That's Saturday Night Live.
No, that's real. That's real. You couldn't tell her voice? That is most definitely real. The taxes back in the Ice Age? I don't think they had taxes.
That's not why we left Great Britain and came here. I thought that was because of taxes.
I know, I thought that.
You think there's a bunch of Eskimos that were going no taxation without representation?
I was like, what are you talking about?
We're moving our asses to Alaska.
She's something special, isn't she?
Well, the voters in her district, keep on voting for
How
her.
does she keep getting... How do you elect somebody after they say stuff like that repeatedly?
Because you just magically say open borders after. And it scares everybody.
The whole thing was nonsense, though. Like, none of her points made sense at all. I mean, because when I try to listen to the other side, a lot of times I'm like thinking, okay, is there at least some kind of point in here? Like, is there at least some kind of truth in here? And then they kind of just went off of that, but that's just nonsense.
Do you know if she's ever introduced any kind of legislation?
I thought she did. I thought that's why her and Boebert are no longer friends, because then Boebert stole her idea or something, and then they ended up hating each other after that. I can't remember what the bill was either with the legislation. Oh, I can't remember. I can't remember if it was the one about like prayer in school or something, putting prayer back in school or
That's what
something
we need.
like that. Yeah, it was something weird like that.
This is the first time we've rendered our guest speechless.
She's. Are you
I'm
still
back,
trying
I'm
to?
still back in the Ice Age and the taxation. That's
Yeah,
I want to know how that works
It is
out.
mind-blowing, isn't it? I wonder how many fish they taxed you back then, back in the Ice Age.
What were the rates back then? You know how they always talk about how like taxes were taxed at like billionaires were taxed at
Like
91% in the 50s. What was it in the Ice Age? Like 150%?
like in the Ice Age movie, that little weasel thing, I forget its name. How many of those weasels were taxed? Like, how many of those little weasels did you have to give up? And why was there a weasel in the middle of the Ice Age?
I don't know.
That was a weasel, right?
I don't know what it was. What was it? No, it wouldn't have been one of those things. I don't know.
This is why we need Ray Romano on the podcast. He'd be able to tell us.
Did he play the weasel?
No, he played the woolly mammoth.
Oh, okay. I've never seen the
You sure
movie.
know a lot about weasels.
Well, I mean, I had a ferret named Axel. I mean,
Named after Axl Rose?
yeah, I had my ferret was Axel, and my black cat was Slash. So I had Axel and Slash,
Yes.
and they would fight.
Kind of like, don't they kind of not get along anymore? Like Guns N' Roses?
No, they're back together.
Oh, they are back together
Yeah.
now. Okay.
Yeah, money
All right.
speaks a lot.
Yeah, money talks.
I know a lot of weasels. Aren't you mutual friends with a lot of my friends?
I absolutely am.
And are any of them weasels?
Maybe some.
Maybe
of them.
one or
Maybe
two.
2 or 3.
Okay. Fair enough. So we're controlling the weather. We're eating the dogs and the cats. We're controlling the weather. And FEMA is taking the funding that's supposed to go there. And FEMA's running out of funding, right? There's not enough funding to go around and all this other shit. But the guy that shares my name, which I hate that I share a name. That's why I go with, that's why I go with Michael, not Mike.
Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the House.
Okay.
Right.
That's why you go with MJ.
Yes. But I also go with Michael, not Mike.
Right.
Because I don't want to be associated with this guy. Okay, so FEMA doesn't have enough funding, and they're blaming Harris for this, even though it's the Biden administration. But how government works, and you can watch, Schoolhouse Rock to figure this out. That you need Congress to pass a bill for funding. So in this crisis, Mike Johnson will not call Congress back, and so Congress is going to stay out of session until after the election. Pretty much you get the last month off of your job.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I know.
You know what? All of us workers should just go on strike then for the last month and be like, yeah, we're not going to work either.
We're not in session this month.
Yeah. We're not gonna bring you your stuff or, make the world go around.
I'm gonna go and
Forget
work.
it.
I'm gonna go and work tomorrow and say, hey, I'm not working until after the election.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see how that plays out. I don't know. That's why we encourage you to vote early. Turn your ballot in early. So there's no kind of weird thing where they don't count the ballot afterwards.
Yeah.
To Snow and I, like the day you get your ballot, it's like Christmas to us. We're like so excited, like today's the day. Today's the day we get the ballot. I didn't fill mine out yet though, because I was studying the propositions on it.
The big book of propositions.
The big book of propositions.
I was studying them and filling out at the same time because I didn't want to have to go back and do it later. I was like,
and you have to be careful on that because the way some of these questions are worded are very tricky. Like, who doesn't want to help first responders? But if you read into it, there's reasons. Or who doesn't want to stop illegal immigration? But if you read into it, there's reasons why. They're worded very simple on a very complicated issue. So that's why we encourage you to do your research and vote, vote however you're going to vote on it. But just do your research.
But maybe it's a good idea to read the arguments for and against on each proposition if you have time, or at least read a few of them, then you kind of get the idea, if you have it explained to you better in easier terms, maybe, than how it's written on the ballot.
Yeah, and if you're not sure, discuss it. I mean, I know that you and I discuss certain things like, I feel like I should, why would I be for this?
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, that, and getting to, we have 3 weeks left now.
Yeah.
3 weeks from
Tuesday.
Less than
a month. I know that.
Thank God. Just want it to be over with. Just so we don't have to listen to these rallies and shit like that and the crazy stuff that comes out of those. Like, what was it this week that came out?
Several examples of just straight nonsense, coming out of Trump spoke in Detroit. And there's, would you like to hear some of them?
Yeah, sure. Let's hear that one.
Okay. Here's one. He's talking about circles. Who doesn't like circles, right?
Many countries, they do that, and then all of a sudden you hear that they're leaving Milwaukee or they're leaving wherever they may be located. It's very sad to see it. And it's so simple. I mean, this isn't like Elon with his rocket ships that land within 12 inches on the moon where they wanted to land. Or he gets the engines back. That was the first I realized. I said, who the hell did that? I saw engines about 3-4 years ago. These things were coming, cylinders, no wings, no nothing. And they're coming down very slowly, landing on a raft in the middle of the ocean someplace with a circle. Boom. reminded me of the Biden circles that he used to have, right? He'd have 8 circles and he couldn't fill them up. But then I heard he beat us with the popular vote. I don't know. Couldn't fill up the 8 circles. I always loved those circles. They were so beautiful. They were so beautiful to look at. In fact, the person that did that was the best thing about the level of that circle was great. But they couldn't get people, so they used to have the press stand at those circles because they couldn't get the people. Then I heard we lost. Oh, we lost. No, we're never going to let that happen again. But we've been abused by other countries. We've been abused by our own politicians, really more than other countries. I can't blame them. We've been abused by people that represent us in this country. Some of them stupid, some of them naive, and some of them crooked, frankly.
Okay.
Do you know what he was talking? What fucking circles is he talking about?
Circles.
Just circles.
Circles. Biden had circles that he couldn't fill up. I think.
Are you going to attempt to sing
let me try my Trumpanese. I think he meant during that election of 2020, we were social distancing, and maybe during the rallies, they had circles, so people were social distanced at rallies.
But he sat there and said,
but since Biden couldn't get anybody to the rally, the circles weren't filled up.
He's like, he couldn't fill up the circles. You only had the press in the
big,
circles.
Beautiful circles.
He said you only had the press in the circles. Yeah. And he couldn't get the circles filled. And he loves the circles.
Me, Putin, Musk, we stand in a circle.
Yeah. I'm like, you got to be talking about circle jerking, right?
We complete the circle. Ours is a big, beautiful circle. See, it helps with the hand motion when you're doing Trump. I sound nothing like Trump, but when I do the hand motion.
The accordion hand?
The little mini accordion.
Yeah. Go in and out.
But you know what? Circle would make sense for his dance that he does, like circle jerking. If he does, you know how he does this 2-guy jerking off dance? That would make sense.
Oh, you're an expert on the occult. Can you make sense of anything he said there?
No.
Okay.
Like, do you have any idea of what he was talking about?
Circles and...
That would have been funny if, like, a reporter would have said, "Sir, how do you feel about squares? Perhaps triangles, just to see just to mess with them."
Squares, they're perfect people to keep the immigrants out. Squares, or you keep them in. Once they cross the border, you keep them in a square cage.
A big, beautiful wall, indeed.
You separate them. You separate them into little squares. You put the kids over there, and the parents over here in the square.
You use square bricks to build the wall.
Yes, because circle bricks wouldn't work too good on building the wall.
They might roll away.
Clearly, Snow and I are delusional at this point.
Oh my God.
We're just losing our minds until this election is over.
But, I mean, is that dementia or what?
I mean,
so is this the next phase of sharks and electricity and that sort of thing? Is that what's going on?
I think that it's more of that. More of the
boat goes down in the water.
The sharks and
the batteries
getting
are in the water. The sharks are in the water.
And you have to decide between getting eaten by the shark or getting electrocuted. Wasn't that what he was saying? You have to make a decision. And he's saying this all while doing the speech at in Nevada. Like it's like the lakes don't have sharks, buddy.
Why does he put the immigrant on a boat that has battery powered and then you sink it in the middle of the shark? And you see which gets you first, the battery or the shark.
He's crazy.
What else did he say this week?
Okay, then he has comments about groceries.
And more complaints about grocery. The word grocery here is sort of simple word, but it sort of means like everything you eat. The stomach is speaking. It always does. And I have more complaints about that bacon and things going up double, triple, quadruple.
Okay. Well, to be fair, his stomach must speak to him a lot.
It's always speaking. He already said that. He said it's always speaking.
And if his McDonald's budget
He's
goes
like,
up
I
3
want a
or
Big
4
Mac now.
times,
Yeah.
I mean, he certainly can afford it. Or his supporters could pay for it for him.
And
Please donate to my campaign today. I need more McDonald's.
I haven't bought bacon in a long time, but is it really higher than what it was when he was president?
No, it is. It is.
It is?
It's like a package that was maybe $4.99. It's maybe $6.99 now.
Oh, I was like, dang, I don't have my phone here, but I was going to go in really quick and look in an app. Because, yeah, I think I used to buy it for like $4.99.
Yeah.
And
My kid eats a lot of bacon. So one thing they will eat is bacon. So
okay.
I'm very familiar with the price of bacon.
Okay. So it has gone up.
Yeah. But I can still afford it, though.
You can still afford it.
I can still afford bacon.
That might be because you're not out there buying like Trump gold sneakers and Trump $100,000 watches.
True.
That's why you can afford bacon.
True. Very true. And he also dissed Eminem's hometown, Detroit.
So all these clips came from his Detroit. He was speaking at an economic convention, I think, in Detroit. So he goes ahead and trashes Detroit while in Detroit.
The whole country's going to be like, you want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president. You're going to have a mess in your hands.
You're in Detroit, sir.
Everything will be like 8 Mile. You'll have the Tigers in the World Series, which they're not. They got eliminated. You'll have the Lions in the playoffs. Very horrible. No one wants Lions in the playoffs. Especially San Francisco. I don't know. Why is this so fucking close? Why is this even a fucking choice?
How? What is wrong with... Do some people still have problems from COVID? And that's what's going on here? Like they've got...
Oh, this is the long-term effects of COVID?
Yeah, like long hauler stuff where they can't... They're not back to normal thinking yet. I don't know.
I don't get it. I mean, I get it here because you drive around town, you see more Trump signs and flags, and you see American... I understand it here.
Well, and we've always been a conservative area.
Yeah.
You know, well, I mean, actually, I shouldn't say that. Probably back like in the 50s, Arizona used to be a Democratic state, honestly, because of all the farmers. And then it turned like massive extreme Republican. I don't know why either.
Well, it seemed like in the age of Reagan, that started to make that turn, and it's not gone back from that point.
That makes sense then. That right there makes a lot of sense.
Right, which Trump stole the "Make America Great Again" from Reagan.
Yes.
Or even Hitler. Remember when we watched the documentary? Hitler used to say, "Make Germany great again."
Yeah. And then
it's a toss-up on who he stole it from.
I know, and you know, I'm not calling Trump supporters Nazis, but the Nazi flag did replace the German flag, just like the Trump flags are sort of replacing the American flags in this area. Just saying.
Yes, if you go back in time and watch some of Hitler's speeches and them showing the streets of Germany, you don't see any German flags. They're all Nazi flags. There's no German flag anywhere to be found.
Right. And if you listen to Trump's speeches, which you'll obviously have to have the subtitles on unless you speak German, but they sounded kind of similar. Kind of similar. Anti-immigrant. Right?
A lot of the same elements.
Yeah. And we're not saying Trump supporters are Nazis. We're just saying there's similarities there.
Right, and we're not saying that Trump's Hitler. I mean, that would be completely... That would be unfair to say. I mean, no one In my opinion, like nobody
Right.
is really that
Right.
bad.
Because Trump has no artistic skills, as far as I can tell. Kidding.
Well, I don't think Hitler did either, to be fair. Like, I think that's why he had to go into politics, because he couldn't make it as an artist.
Yeah, but didn't
Like, it was mediocre.
But didn't he go into politics because people made fun of him, of his art?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, and that's why you're right. There's somewhere there because Trump went into politics because Obama made fun of Trump.
At that White House correspondent dinner,
Right.
Obama had some jokes. They panned to Obama or to Trump and Melania in the audience, and they were not laughing. I mean, it was like if looks could kill, Obama would have been in like one of those chalk out lines on the stage, you know.
You know, I guess he's being very smart. You know, she's just keeping her mouth shut during this because she knows if he gets elected, saying shit like this, we're going to put in the gulag.
They're going to open those tunnels back, the secret tunnels back open to put to place people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Snow and I will be locked down there.
We'll be living underground.
This is not an area to be vocal about your anti-Trump support. No, I know in this format it is, but you're also indoors and safe.
MJ and Snow.
Away from windows.
MJ and Snow.
You're what?
That's why we're MJ and Snow.
Yeah, you have to go by pseudonyms.
And that's why our studio's high on the hill. We can see him coming.
Do you really believe that the genesis of Trump running for office started with Obama making fun of him, or do you think it was something that was already kind of preconceived, put into motion? Someone's already paying for this. This is the way we're pushing him. Do you think Putin was in before that? What do you think about that? I mean, I remember that dinner. That's
well. No, I mean,
what was it called? Nerd prom or something like that when they do that correspondence dinner.
Right.
I mean, that's an interesting thing. I think I think personally that Trump has always had, well, whatever falling out he had with the Clintons after that, because he used to be, he used to register as a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
he used to be a Democrat.
How did he get elevated from someone we used to watch in the early 80s on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, who was this totally bankrupt billionaire who now only has $1 million per month to live off of, and he's got to get back on his feet because he was just this failing business buffoon. How did we go from that to him being the leader of a political party?
Social media.
Social media, you think is
I think that's a lot of it. I think that during the Obama administration, you used to see a lot more racist comments coming up, and I think he, and maybe along with Russia, embraced that and found a way to, hey, let's make this speech acceptable in a way, and then it can spread through misinformation and things like that, because everybody used to be polite about this stuff back in the day, or you kept your opinions to yourself.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or you'd fight about it once a year over the Thanksgiving dinner table, but it never went further than that. There was never a outlet for every person to type in all caps all your hate speech.
He kind of made it cool for them to hate.
Made it acceptable.
Like it like made it cool to hate.
Right. And then you have a certain, and I'm not saying at all that all Trump supporters are like this. There's policies that they like and stuff like that, and they're just willing to ignore all the other outside noise.
Right.
On it. But yeah, I think it made it acceptable. Like, hey, you hear this guy talks like this. That's why I like him. He speaks his mind. And it makes it acceptable to be mean to others, to bully people. And it makes it more acceptable. It makes it the norm. I mean, that's just my theory.
So we've fully brought dehumanization back out of the closet, and we've embraced it, and we're proud of it, and we're waving flags for it.
Well, yeah, make America great again means great again to what time?
Exactly.
Back to the 1950s when it was acceptable to do this. It was acceptable to hold minorities down. Back in that was good old days. Right?
I think that some of those people were like at first fine with the progress that, our country had made, what little progress. I mean, I still think that we could be further along, but I think some people on that side were okay with it until he came around and kind of really tied into their grievances and
Which I can understand people's frustration.
And so now they're like, I think that there's a lot of those folks are really afraid of the browning of America. I think they believe his bullshit, like that they're going to somehow lose out now. I don't know why. It's like, why? Wouldn't you try to make friends? I mean, wouldn't you try to just, if it's going to happen anyways, wouldn't you try to go ahead with the times? I mean, to adapt to things rather than sitting there fighting it and thinking that you have.
Well, isn't that why they call it progressive, though?
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand. There's a lot I don't understand about it. I don't understand the mentality of it. But then on the other hand, it's like, I understand the shit that they're screaming. I don't agree with it, but I understand what they're saying.
Right. I mean, yeah, I think 100 years from now, they will still be writing books about this time and the state that we are in now, in the state of whichever way this goes. I mean, I don't know.
I think the only reason there hasn't been more things written about it, like more songs, more, the artists really getting involved, is because of the threats that they get. It's like people get their lives threatened. I mean, for crap's sakes, they threaten judges and stuff. Like they threaten to hang the vice president. They made a gallows. These people are.
It's just a strange.
They're out of their minds.
Okay, I guess we'll end on this one, and we'll have to guess this. Do you ever think there's a getting back to a kind of a normal after all this, where we get back to the days where we can be polite?
I would love to see things return to those days where people like my grandfather, who was in politics, and his friends who were the polar opposite politically, would come to the table together and help people.
Mm-hmm.
If the end goal is we're going to help each other to be successful.
Well, and
we don't have that anymore.
Well, we sort of do, though. And that gets back to, if you take out the political divisiveness of the disasters that happened over the last couple of weeks, is the only good thing that you see come out of that is you do see people just coming together to help their neighbors, and people from the whole country coming together to send supplies and stuff like that. And it's awful
that you need a natural disaster of biblical proportions to see that happen.
Well, just think about 9/11. Think about the day after 9/11, 9/12. I don't want to say, because we were all in shock, I don't want to say it was refreshing in a way, but it sort of felt good. Just everybody was just nice to each other. Somebody cut you off in traffic, you didn't get mad, you didn't honk your horn, you were just like, you go. You go.
Do you think that is because
we were in shock?
You look white?
Yes.
Because I was working somewhere at the time, and anyone who came in who looked a little not white was getting harassed immediately. It was a great deal of harassment. Like, I had customers come in who were from the Sikh community. They had nothing to do with any of that. And they were being beaten up out back. People were very, very frightened.
There were people that died. There's that story about the man in Texas who killed the people in the convenience store because he thought he killed people of, I think he murdered people of Indian heritage, thinking that. And then the thing about that story that like had impressed me about the Indian folks were like, they were like, they forgave him and advocated for him to not be put to death. And they actually became friends. But he lived in Texas, so needless to say, he was put to death. And he kind of joked with them about that. He goes, you can try to help me, but we're in Texas. They're going to kill me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I do look at through rose-colored glasses at the time, and my own experience of what I felt at the time.
But there was certainly some of that. There was.
No, there was that
Yeah.
because my boss at the time was Indian, and I remember his little Honda Accord that he drove. He ended up putting up like this big American flag in his back window. Like, hey, I'm one of the good ones here.
And that's exactly what I did at my own business to calm people down. Brought out American flags. Look, we're all together. Let's behave.
Yeah, until those American flags fell off your car 2 weeks later. And
Yeah. I know.
I don't know. The world is just a fucked up place, and 3 weeks till election, and how much fallout we'll have after the election on whatever decision, whichever way it goes. I know personally I'm looking forward to doing more episodes like we did about Weird Kingman and stuff like that, and getting away from conversations like this.
I
Because
know.
it gets old.
Can't wait for the election to be
Yeah.
over.
But ballots did go out in the mail. You should have gotten yours this week. Fill it out. Send
Vote.
it in. Vote. It's
Vote,
very important
vote,
just to
vote.
vote. And, this nightmare will be over soon, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Or just starting.
Yeah.
One or two. Either way, this is our therapy session. And thank you for joining in. And we will talk to you next week.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.